All right, hello, friends on Zoom land. People are just gathering back, and we're gonna get started again. And just want to let you know, I'm gonna do a few slides about the museum. My colleague is gonna talk a little bit about a specific topic in our resources, and then we're actually taking them out on the grounds. But I'm gonna bring you with us with this with the iPad, because I've got a little holder here. So you don't, it's not required to stay, but I'll be bringing you with us, so you can certainly see the tour as well. I can't say the same about the boat ride. Sorry, that I think might be too tough. So, but all right. So I'm gonna put you down. Oops, I'm gonna flip it. Sorry, I'm like all over your stuff still. There we go. You didn't know this.
I didn't know.
It's back.
No, it's in here. It depends. Folks, we're gonna get started with the rest of our activity. I just wanted to mention we have our 2 teachers of the year from last year. Yay! So Saul Collins, I know is here. Saul, where are you?
Hey.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry. Wave your hand. Our junior division, our Connecticut nominee for Bearing Teacher of the Year, and then Karen Cook. Oh, in the back, hiding out, who is our senior division nominee for Bearing Teacher of the Year. So we're really happy to have you both with us. They're great resources. We really encourage you to talk to them. And, you know, one of the things that I hope that we'll have from today is that you've met some people, you've met us, you've met your regional coordinators, and that you realize that there are lots of folks around to help you.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick little overview of some of the things that Mystic Seaport Museum has to offer. And then my colleague, Barbara Jarnagin, is going to go over one specific topic related to this year's theme. And then we're going to get you out of the ground for a nice little quick tour. And then we're going to come back here at 2:30. Our friend Ding is going to talk about resources up at the Slater Museum. So, and then at 3 o'clock, it's totally optional for those who still want to go on a boat ride. Just going to follow us. We go down to the boat. It's like a 25-minute boat ride on a launch boat. So that's the optional piece. You might have to get on the weekends. So my name is Sarah Cahill, and I'm Director of Education here at Mystic Seaport Museum. I want to shout out to Liz Porter over there because, gosh, is it February? I don't know. I get this email from my boss, who got an email from our new president, who had printed out Liz Porter's email to him with a handwritten note from my president to my boss. Something like, put Sarah on this, or can Sarah follow up? So I get back in touch. Liz volunteers here. For how long have you been volunteering here?
Well, I started volunteering here when I was 15.
15. So a couple years
And
ago.
I'm not going to tell you, but I am retired now. So that might give you an idea of, you know. But I started 15, then I went to work, but I've always had an association with Mystic Seaport. And then I came back to volunteer for a bit. So
Well, I just appreciate you making the connection, because obviously we have not been involved in Connecticut History Day. Sorry, Rebecca, as National History Day should have been.
We're rectifying that now.
Yeah, and it's just so impressive, inspiring. Not only what Rebecca and her team does, and Ashley National, and you are just like on top of how hard it is to be a teacher. You're taking these projects on, and I know I like what you were saying, how National History Day, Connecticut History Day, should really be how history is taught, period. But it's a lot of work, takes a lot of time, and I'm just so impressed with all of you for taking this on, especially with everything going on in the world. So I'm just gonna be real quick, because I think, like, I know tons of you. Most of you have been here, right? Raise your hand if you've been to the Seaport. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go over just a few little teeny things, and then have Barb talk a little bit about a specific topic here. So. Okay, let me just see if this actually works. It's a fun little video. It's better than listening to me. There we are. So that pretty much sums up the education department, but I think what I like to try to get across there is that we have really a very big variety of programming. So in your bags are two new-ish documents that you probably aren't so familiar with us, because they're things, some of them are, we had done before, some are new, some we haven't co-opted because of COVID. So we have one document that we're calling our enrichment programming that we can do before, during, and after school, 1 to 5 days a week, different topics, different themes. The other document is over COVID, we developed 21 virtual programs. We did over 450 virtual programs for over 10,000 people last year. So about half of those 21 are astronomy and planetarium based, half are maritime history and culture. So the second document has all of the logistics. This is our little setup right here. And you'll see, I'm going to be filming Barb on her tour. So our friends, we experimented with a lot. We finally came up with that. Highly recommend that setup. So I just want to make sure you knew about that, because we're still doing a whole mix this year. You know, it's hybrid again. Got a lot of schools still Zooming with us. Your kids, can you raise your hand if your district is allowing on-site field trips this year?
Yes, they are.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So that's why we're actually doing a lot more in-school programs, because we are finding that schools are more likely to let us in than allow kids to go out. So that's where that enrichment program. Oh, but we do have guided tours. And raise your hand if you brought your students here on a guided tour. Okay, we've got a couple. Rotten. So glad to hear that. I'm so sad if you hadn't. And these are all the different topics that we do. They're roughly 2 hours or so, based on different themes. And the idea is inquiry-based, hands-on, getting them asking questions. We talked about objects as primary sources. That is what we do here. And so that is just a quick rundown of the different topics that we do. Primary source workshops. Talk about these. So we have one that I really love called Curator's Challenge, which is where we can do it on the road. We can do it in schools, but if your students come here, we set up tables with different, I don't have a picture of that one, different artifacts of the different themes, and students have the artifact analysis sheet that somebody referenced earlier today. Then they have to analyze the artifacts, and then as a group, they have to curate their own little mini exhibit, come up with the title of the exhibit, then they have to present back to everybody presents. It's hilarious. What's our favorite title? Scrimshaw Shank Redemption. It's like our favorite title, right? So that's another thing that we do. We have a planetarium. Who's been to our planetarium? Oh, that's better than usual. Usually people are like, you have a planetarium? So good. Glad you know that. Who slept on the Joseph Conrad? Wow. This is amazing.
I
Okay.
climbed the rigging.
Yes. Okay, great. You're good. Oh, I already mentioned this. I should have led with this. So here's an example of one of our virtual programs. We did a bunch of marine science. We branched out into a lot of marine science through our sailing center as well. This one, we have a scout overnight on the weekends, and we said, wait a minute, scouts, they know how to use tents. So since they couldn't sleep down below of Joseph Conrad because of COVID, they came and they pitched tents on our village green, and we're keeping that as an option now. So everybody had to do something different with COVID, right? Okay, I'm gonna end with this. We're about to launch, we're working up to a year from now. We're slowly starting to develop something that we're calling the Center for Experiential Education. So over the years, I've been here for 11, Barb's been here for 32, something. We've of course worked with under-resourced youth in a variety of ways, but it's never been as much as we should and as intentional as we should. Luckily, our new president, Peter Armstrong, is very supportive of this. It's a priority. My background before I came here was actually positive youth development and after school. So we are going to start working, our mission is going to be to engage under-resourced youth in maritime experiential education, anchored in positive youth development, to improve their social and emotional and leadership skills. Obviously, you all know this because you're living it every day. COVID has only further exacerbated SEL issues and kids knowing how to be together and, you know, all that. Obviously, a lot of content loss too, a lot of learning loss, but so that is our mission of this center. We really do have a unique setting. I'm a little biased. And don't worry, Slater Museum is awesome too. Dane, it's really good. Yep. But and when I first started here as director of education, I was like, read it. I have a planetarium and a sailing center in my department. In addition to our whole, we have a working shipyard. Has anyone been across the street? I know Karen has. Okay, to our vault. Awesome. Literally a vault, right? We have so many incredible arts, objects and artifacts across the street, whale eyeball being my favorite. So we have like this incredible, unique setting. We have 17 acres, and I feel like it's a little underutilized still, that we can use to really engage students who do not thrive in a traditional classroom for whatever the reason is. So we're very excited about that. Another sort of shift, I'd say, in how the museum education department is going to do our work is that we're really going to be focusing on relationships and mentoring. So the content, of course, is important, but right now we want students to really develop a relationship with a caring adult in their lives that maybe they don't have. Oh, and they do. Teachers, you're all mentors. You're 100% mentors, but you have a lot of kids and you need to focus on your content. But we really want students to start building their resilience through doing some activities, maritime experiential education with us. Now, if they also happen to increase their awareness of maritime museum careers, we want to get them ready for some kind of post-high school, whatever it is. We want to help them do that. And of course, if they learn a few technical skills along the way, great. Sailing, boat building, navigation, marine science. So anybody been in the field of experiential education before classroom teaching? Not really, but you kind of are anyway. But so the simplest way is really about learning by doing. It's the do, reflect, apply, right? So we would do a hands-on experience with students, and you reflect on that, and then you apply what you learned either to try it again or something else in your life. So the center is going to be steeped in that philosophy. Positive youth development is actually a field that's been around for decades. The whole point of positive youth development is you're prioritizing the relationships, peer-to-peer, peer to adult mentor. You really try to create a safe environment. National History Day is to create a safe environment that is going to allow the students to feel safe to stretch and try something, right? To build their competency, their self-esteem, their critical thinking skills. Has to be emotionally safe, psychologically safe, physically safe. So you do that with National History Day. And then youth voice, youth leadership opportunities, so key in those of you that teach, well, all grades, right? But middle and high school, I think in particular, are probably really good at that. I think that's it. Any quick questions before passing on to Barb about this? Oh, I do have one quick thing for the center. What we want to do this year is start slowly recruiting kind of a pilot cohort. So if any of you, and geography is going to be kind of important, so staring at the garden, folks. If any of you have a teacher contact, or you have students yourselves who think could become part of this, please do get in touch with me. My card is in the bag that I gave you, and that's obviously the bags are yours too. So yeah.
Are you looking for disadvantaged youth?
Yes.
Okay, so I have contacts and what's the like is there payment? Like
Well, no, so ideally, we don't want the students
Exactly,
to have to
so-
pay to do this. We're actually starting to actively fundraise. Yeah,
okay, I have contacts that maybe I can help.
that would be great. My card is in the bag.
Awesome.
Transportation will be an issue.
Yes, I agree. So that's in our bucket, our fundraising bucket is to try to raise, part of our fundraising is going to be to help pay for transportation. Yeah. That's kind of always a key challenge. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening. I'm going to send it over to Barb, who's going to talk a little bit about specific topic. You don't need the slide, right?
Don't need that.
All right.
Woo. Technically get in the middle here.
So I will tell you that talking to a group of teachers is the scariest, most intimidating thing.
Especially since teachers. You guys terrify me. Yeah, 3 hours trying to figure out, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do this? So I'm just gonna do it real quick. And then hit the road.
because once you get into my backyard, Mr. Seaport Museum, then I'm comfortable. But anyway, so I've been asked to pitch one more idea, one more subject that could be done for the Connecticut History Day. And where there are so many things that, as I'm thinking about, what is a big conflict or debate? What could it be? What could it be? I stumbled into the precursors of the War of 1812. I'm not interested in military history whatsoever. I was married to a military guy, done with the military stuff, done with the war stuff. But the precursors to the War of 1812 sort of fascinated me because I worked at Mystic Seaport for a million years. I care about the history of sailors, even merchant sailors, between about, after the Revolutionary War, right up to the beginning of the War of 1812. This is a story that is, obviously a huge national impact story. It's a huge political story if you want to go down that road. But it's also a really important story for Connecticut, more specifically Southeastern Connecticut, more specifically coastal and along the rivers in Connecticut. And part of it started out with the mistreatment of American merchant sailors from right about 1790 right up until the war broke out. So you can imagine, you've got Napoleon over there across the ocean. He's having a little argument, huge battles with British Empire, the British Navy. And the British Navy was really, really getting wiped out. They were losing about 10,000 sailors a year, partly because of disease, partly because they deserted, and partly because they perished during all these battles. So British Navy was really starving to try to find other sailors who knew how to sail on these sailing ships. Well, now you've got America out there. We're trying to grow our commerce around the world, and we're trying to sail around the Atlantic. And every time a British ship would come by, they would attack the British ship, take those experienced American sailors, and press them into service, to the point of about between 15 years, between 1792 and 1812, we lost, to impressment of the British, we lost about 15,000 American sailors. That's crazy. That's 1,000 American sailors a year that we were losing. So once again, you take that step back into, well, who cares about that if you live along the coast? Who cares about it if you live in Mystic? You are definitely going to be impacted by somebody being impressed in the British Navy, whether it's your brother, your husband, your son. These ships, American ships that were being taken over, they are going to impact your local economy, maybe your local pocket. So got to remember this. On July 2nd, 1812, Captain David Porter raised a flag on the USS Essex. And the banner said, a free trade and sailors' rights. And all of a sudden people, especially in the coastal areas, were saying, oh, free trade, that's, for rich people and commerce. Sailors' rights, what? Sailors have rights? For hundreds of years, sailors around the world had no voice. They were the engines that made countries grow, but they really didn't have any voice. Anything that happened when they were out at sea happened when they were out at sea. When they came back home, only the captain had a voice. So all of a sudden, with that one little banner in 1812, things started to change. And for regular people like me, regular people that were shop owners in seaport towns, all of a sudden they said, hey, wait a minute, that's a call. And it makes sense to the common person. So a lot of things changed, and you guys are all history teachers, so you know all that other history. But I really do think that just the subject of looking into the impressment of American sailors right before the War of 1812, and then during the War of 1812, how the sailors' voices were amplified is a really interesting topic. We do have here at Mystic Seaport in our research library, we've got some documents that I have a link to that are actually really interesting about neutral cargo ships and the documents that when American merchants were trying to travel out and do business during the Napoleonic Wars, so what would happen to them. But there's also really wonderful sources with the, I know I'm talking really fast, I'm sorry.
You're doing a great job.
My history teacher, I'd be really excited.
There you go, see?
Okay. So way back in 2012, so 200 years after the war kicked off, there were 5 local Southeastern Connecticut museums, historical societies that put together this amazing exhibit called The Rocket's Red Glare. And it was over in the Lyman Allen Museum in London. Absolutely fabulous. It was a nice collaboration of all these different museums. There still is a book out that you can find on Amazon.com, but that is a really excellent resource. And like I said, Mystic Seaport's got some great stuff. Obviously, the USS Constitution Museum has some really good sources that you can look into. The Connecticut River Museum, once again, because of course, you know that Fort Essex was raided and 27 of their ships were burnt down to the ground, and they stole all sorts of things. The British stole all sorts of things. Stonington Historical Society's got some amazing things. National Archives, Connecticut Explored.org, ConnecticutHistory.org. There's tons of really amazing sources out there. So once again, it is a local story, and I know we were talking a little bit about a Connecticut story and how you can turn it into when you go to national. Well, then you can certainly blow that up and actually take a bigger lens to connect it to all the other different campaigns that are happening across the country. So there you go. There's my pitch. Sailor's plights. What we're going to do now. Dean, did you want to go first, or you want to go for a walk? What do you want?
Not up to me. It's
Let's go for a walk.
There you go. Because you get that way, you can leave your stuff here, and we're gonna come back. Dane's gonna wrap up with his stuff, and yeah.
I'm gonna give you a plug for the organization I work with, the Connecticut Democracy Center.
Yes.
We also, not only do we run the Old State House, but we also have a contract to run the Connecticut Network. And if you go onto our website, you will see, you can Google old programs. We did have, if I remember correctly, many years ago, we did do a program in conjunction with the Rocket's Red Glare exhibit. So you can, and for other topics, we do a lecture series called Conversations with You. So a lot of historical topics you might be able to find a historian lecturing on by going to the Connecticut Network and just doing kind of a old State House Google. And it's also, if you have students doing government topics, you can look there too, but it's a way of finding stuff, because check out the Hartford Convention that happened at the Old State House, which I won't go into it, but relates to the War of 1812 and is another great topic about that would have debate and diplomacy.
So many connections.
So many.
All right.
So if you just want to leave your stuff here, let's go out and enjoy some weather.
So folks on Zoom land, for a minute, I'm just gonna mute myself and turn my video off just while we walk downstairs, so I don't make you dizzy. And then once we get onto the grounds, I will turn the camera back on. So. All right, folks, I am so sorry. I'm back. That just shows the technology needed to bring the Wi-Fi. So we're going into this building where Barb has just brought the group, one of our exhibit spaces. Can you guys see? Okay? Yes, okay. You're nodding your head. Thank you. Thank you. Nope. I have to find them. Pardon me, sorry. Oop, not here. Apologize. She went into that building. You're getting a fast visual. So of the folks on Zoom, since you're muted, I think mostly, can you raise your hand if you've been to the Seaport before? Oh, okay, good. So you can kind of recognize where we are then. We're walking, that's the planetarium right there. And I've lost Barb, but you know, finding one person with 30 other people shouldn't be too hard. And it is a beautiful day here today. So we're heading back down now towards the Morgan. And feel free, you got really, truly, you can unmute and ask any questions that you have.
I don't have any question at the moment. I just really appreciate all your efforts for us that couldn't make it there today. This has been really better than expected, to be honest, for sitting in the chair for 6 hours. You know what I mean? I really do appreciate it.
You were doing last year, and I appreciate that. Zoom long meetings on Zoom are very hard. Let's see. Got a beautiful beauty shot of the Morgan while I'm waiting for the large group to emerge somewhere. We actually just took the Charles W. Morgan, that's what we're looking at, obviously right now, the last remaining wooden whaling vessel, and took her out of the water. She got painted and everything, just got put back in the water. So looking good there. All right, we're gonna head back towards the north here because I'm pretty sure they're still gonna be up here. And we're gonna shift gears this way. Now, for those of you that have been to the Seaport before, have you been here since we've done this new building? No, so that's what we're looking at right now. This building right here is called the Thompson Exhibition Building, and it's meant to look like the hull of a wooden ship and a kind of a wave, and houses one of our new 5,000 square foot exhibition space. And actually there's a nice meeting space in the back too, though it was not available today, but and so this whole area here is called the Gallery Quad. And this is where a lot of our exhibit buildings are. And we were meeting in this one, the Stillman building on the 3rd floor. So I could have sworn I saw the group go into that exhibit building, but we're gonna go over here and hang out because I'm sure Barb's gonna bring people to the village. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. This is called calling in audible. And so what I'd like to do is hear from you all on where you would like to see. Because I'm going to bring us down to the village, but I would love to hear what you would like to see in the village, because I'm going to actually just do the tour for you. But that means that you have to unmute.
It's been so long since I've been there. I honestly don't know where to begin. Obviously, the ship's notable to me, but it's been a while.
Okay, that's a good starting point. Just in my presentation, we have a lot of different themed tours, and obviously one of them is life in a seaport town, and one of them is whaling. But so what we do is we stop here and we
could I
talk
interject
about,
just one moment? Could I just interject?
Yeah, sure.
Real quick.
Sure.
I was just told that the group is at a building with a very tiny model of the Seaport, if that helps.
Oh, I know exactly where that is. Well done. Okay. And I should know that because that's Barb's favorite. That is the Mystic scale model.
It's like,
Okay.
where's Waldo? Where's
Oh.
Waldo?
This happens to me sometimes when I have to go like observe one of my museum educators. I'll leave my office and I'll have the guided tour memo and know like roughly where takes a long time just to find them, but that's good. It's not a boring job. Just like with teaching, right? You're always on your feet.
I mean, you didn't necessarily have to go and divert. I just figured I was texting.
Oh
a friend.
no, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
And I walk right over to that spot. It's the scale model. It is really cool, actually. I didn't bring, we have a light attachment actually for this iPad setup, which I did not bring. And so it's a little dark in there, but at least we'll catch up with the group. Get Barb's next stop. This is our big green as you kind of walk in this main south entrance here. We're going over to the scale model. Again, it might get a little dark in here, but see how we can do.
Things. And I'll meet you on the other side, over on that broad side in just a few minutes.
All right, what I'll do for the Zoom land folks is try to get a close up of the scale model for you all.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Can you hold this for a second while I get my mask on? Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Yep, so this is what they're looking at right
Yep.
there. Thank you. I finally found you guys. I forgot the Wi-Fi and luckily Andrew's a friend who was here texted him where we were. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I love
The setup, yeah.
how is everyone doing?
Can you all still hear us, by the way, and see? Yeah, no, I know they're muted, but okay, great. Because I just, even with the MiFi, I just want to make sure the connection. We actually, on our virtual field trips that we did last year, did not come into the scale model very often. So I was curious about how the internet was holding up here. So looking at the shipyard down here, this is sort of Mystic in the middle 1800s. We have a volunteer group who has built this over the years. And it's pretty amazing scale model of Mystic in the 1800s. In a minute, I'm going to get to a spot you'll probably all recognize if you've been to the town of Mystic. You know, we have the drawbridge in town. I don't know how well you can see that there, but there's the river and the drawbridge. And it's a real good look at not only what it was like in the 1800s, but it's so fun, obviously, for the students and adults for that matter. Like, oh wait, I know that place. That's my house. So then if you go down here, okay, you can see the railroad bridge. There's this is, if you're familiar with Mystic at all, there's the railroad bridge too, a little bit down from the drawbridge. So that'll give you the idea of where we are. Now we go around to the Groton side of the river. So this is Fort Rachel. Again, you may not be familiar with that level of detail if you're not from Mystic, but right now it's still currently a marina down the street, actually from my house. And now we're getting a bit of a traffic jam here. Here we go.
All right, so who's on something sort of weird, wonderful, crazy, questionable?
Sorry, questionable.
Yes.
I found my favorite house.
Explain what.
Because it's got an amazing view. The house starts on the corner here. That's gravel street, and right on the corner, the house is still there. It's a beautiful, lovely cape, and it's got this good view of the river down this way. I've always admired that house anytime we go by, and it's a beautiful property to this day.
We love taking the students in here, and they always point out how great it is that there are those little sheds in the back of every building. So, not a problem. Then we go into that. And then I do a side note and tell them that nowadays, if you're an archaeologist, an urban archaeologist, those sites where outhouses used to be are amazing places to get material culture. Instead of a town dump, when you throw things, you just threw it down the outhouse. And so you can get we do have a team of college students that come in periodically, and they can actually open up with these locks, open up these windows and stand on the water to do any restoration work. They're still doing research. So every time they come up with a new old document, they go in and they add a little something or take something out because that's not historically accurate. So it is, once again, a living document. Which is why I enjoy coming in here so many times over the years. Anybody else see anything that's sort of weird or noteworthy?
I just think all the animals are so cool.
Absolutely hand painted.
Love the animals,
Absolutely.
yep.
Well, and like this little goose right here, is literally like, I don't even know how you
Let's
can
see.
make it, but you can actually tell.
Can
it's
I
like-
squeeze in here for the
You
zoomies?
see that little?
Oh, yeah. Look at the animals
I
in there.
know.
Yep.
Although I'm not real sure about the proportion of some, because that cow looks pretty darn big over there compared to like the person. So
We're gonna get the farm.
maybe it was, yes. I stay away from the bull. I grew up in the farm.
Progress. You have stuff that's in the process of being built, so I think it gives a kind of activity to the town, which it would have had.
Yep.
During that period.
I
So
will
that's
tell
really
you that
interesting.
that poor ship, which is actually representing the Davy Crockett that was launched in the Mystic River in 1853. For 32 years, they haven't finished it yet. One day to come in and actually see her sitting in the middle of the river, but it'll just never happen.
Oh.
Oh, 32 years. In actuality, though, a ship that size would probably along Mystic River with all the skilled tradesmen moving from one shipyard to another, they could actually build a ship like that in about 3 or 4 months. So, yeah, yeah, it's their business. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4 shipyards right along this little section. Mystic River is only about 5 miles long. There are actually at 1.7 shipyards along this little river. We had the wood, we had the access to the open ocean in the big world, but we also had the skilled tradesmen that knew exactly how to build good wooden ships. So I'm actually going to turn the annoying sound recording back on again. So if you folks want to go out the way we came in, I'll meet you at the bottom of the stairs. No, most of this is still there. They don't, yeah, I always before we take them anywhere, and especially now they don't have to navigate a museum, they don't know how to read, right, museum exhibits.
Here we are. Here are your fellow history teachers. Ah, perfect. Yes. Did you guys, did you perform, have a song or performance ready for your colleagues on Zoom? No? No dance, nothing. Okay. All right.
Make Michael do it.
Somebody says make Michael do it.
Yeah, that's me and no.
Amanda, you should sing a song instead.
Oh, apparently Amanda, you're the singer. And she's saying no.
Janine, just remember, I'm in your classroom. You want it the way you want it when you get back.
Oh, I see. See how it goes. Yeah, exactly. Friday afternoon. They're trading barbs back and forth with their colleagues. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
If I have to sing, Amanda, I'm not bringing you one of those big cookies either.
Oh, there were some big cookies. Yeah.
I've been identified as a troublemaker the past 2 minutes. I do not know what's happening.
No, I believe that you're not a troublemaker. Never met you. You don't seem like a troublemaker to me, so it's okay. Unless it's a troublemaker in the good sense of the word. That is not historically accurate. Just telling you. Yeah. Yep. Barb, where are we going? Rope walk?
We're going west is where we're going.
Sorry, Barb. The one thing we all learned in this COVID times was that our museum educators, we all had to learn to be comfortable with each other kind of close up. We were wearing masks, but because in order to really get a good video, image, and sound. So Barb is used to a camera in her face right now. So, yeah.
So are all the people that are out there, are you sun dwellers? Because if you're not, you can come in the shade if you'd like. But if you prefer to be sun dwellers, that's totally fine too. Awesome. Okay. So who knows the history of Mystic Seaport Museum?
Dane does.
I'm not gonna pick on you anymore. So imagine this, we just saw in the late 1800s that this whole area used to be a shipyard. Those Freeman brothers building that big ship, the Davy Crockett, this nice flat area was perfect for it. So 1929, 3 guys here at Mystic decided, we need to start collecting maritime artifacts. They're building steamships, they're building iron ships. The whole age of sail is just going to be totally forgotten. So they started collecting diaries, personal logbooks, and sculptures. Very bad.
very front of ships. Just random steering wheels. They were collecting their pack rats. They were collecting things and they were collecting things for free, which is a good way to do things. So they had one little building, one little brick building, and it was opened 2 days a week in July and August for a couple hours. So it was way back in 1929. In 1941, we had a chance to. And so they said, hey, we'll do that. We can spend $1. So they got this big black ship over there. Charles W. Morgan. She's only about 112 feet long. She we bought her for $1. Oh, and we had her so she could actually float on her own. So the first thing we did is we brought her up the river, a couple tugboats, and she's taking in water, and she looked really horrible. And the first thing we did was we dug a big hole in the dirt and put her in there, and there she sat until the 70s. Well, until we could find enough money to finally build our conservation shipyard. So we could dig her out of the dirt, bring her over to the shipyard, take her out of the water, and then do about 15 years worth of conservation. And then she floats. So it costs us a little bit more than $1 to get her back into shape, but we're very happy to have her. The cool thing about Charles W. Morgan, in the middle 1800s, there were about 1,000 American wooden whaling ships. Now, she's the last of her kind. So that's why we try to take care of her, teaching a lot about the pros and a lot of cons about American whaling, energy conservation, changes in philosophies about marine mammals. There's so many things that we can teach by using Charles W. Morgan. So once again, remember this, 1941, we've got this big ship in a hole with dirt all the way around it and this big flat area. And this little building with people's personal documents and artifacts in it. So then our founder said, you know what? Why don't we start collecting buildings too? And we can make this whole little backdrop and make it look like a quaint little seaport town. So we started rescuing historic buildings from all around Connecticut and Massachusetts, and then in different ways bring them right here and make sort of backdrop for the Morgan, which worked out pretty good. Later on, we did that in the 50s and 60s. We did build a couple of buildings to sort of fill in things, but it really hasn't changed. The structure really hasn't changed that much. So this little village area, we're going to sit down just a little bit so you can get a full view. It's got a lot to rest on its shoulders. It's representative for many of our visitors, especially this time of year. They have never been to New England. It's representative of New England. It's representative of a coastal seaport town in the 1800s. It's also representative of Mystic, Connecticut. So that's an awful lot for just these little buildings here. So I do want to pass this around because I really want you to see what the seaport, what a seaport really would look like in the 1800s. First of all, we wouldn't be standing in the middle of the road because we'd get run over.
Perfect, thank you.
Ladies, we would not be standing in the road because this road would be full of gross mud and horse droppings. And we don't want it on our dresses. Gentlemen, you should be out working, not hanging around here talking about the history of Mystic. Dogs on leashes, forget that. That's not going to happen. So it's going to be a really kind of seaport town. There are going to be all sorts of sailors hanging out. We've got ships in here. Sailors are going to hit the port and look for some fun, one way or another. It's probably not a good thing. Actually, the ladies here, we're together. We're okay. Safety in numbers. The other thing that is really important here, if you truly look around right now, see how everybody has about the same skin color? Not be like that. Seaport towns in America, funnels for America. You're okay. A lot of immigrants, free men, even sometimes runaway slaves are incognito. We've got a lot of different things going on in this town. It's not
all white, yes.
That was actually a question I had that you sort of started addressing. I just finished reading Complicity, and I've been working with, my school's working with the Witness Stones to really shed more light on slavery in New England. And I just wondered does Mystic Seaport have any plans to talk more about slavery in terms of maritime New England? I was really surprised.
Yep, absolutely.
Growing up here, just how I didn't learn about it.
No, you didn't. No, it was always, when I grew up, it was like North was the good guys.
There was trading.
And South was the wrong guy.
What was being traded.
Right, absolutely. No, that's actually an initiative that we are actually working on at this moment. In fact, within 24 hours yesterday, I was working on that as well. Yep, absolutely. So in fact, all of our programs in the education department are really taking a shift over this fall and into the winter to include so many stories. It's just not a white story. And the African-American experience, Latino experience, Indigenous people from this local area, their stories are out there. They are written, they are captured. We're just not using them. Absolutely.
A while back, I read a book that was about, it's called Captain Ahab Had a Wife.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, so it's about women and how they kind of get left behind because whale fishery takes place so much in the ocean. What does that kind of do to the makeup of a town like Mystic Seaport when you have majority of men leaving to go do work out in the sea?
So that is in the 1800s. They were not still responsible for taking care of their home and raising their children. But flow of the men going in and out, women are going to step in those shops. They're going to be the printers, they're going to be the shipsmiths, and we do have plenty of records of that women will take in those roles. Unfortunately, once those guys, if those guys come home, women go back to work. So all these things, Charles Mallory, sailmaker, ship chandler. Ship chandler is sort of like a super hybrid for ships. This whole building was actually moved from downtown Mystic to its site right here. It's in the way. So people said, "Oh, we'll take it." And in fact, right behind you folks, that big
Sorry, Barb. Just want to show you guys the sign, Shipsmith Shop from New Bedford.
All right. So, like I said, yes, this particular building was in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and there were a lot of businesses right in the Earl Wharf area that were supplying ships and tools for the whaling trade. New Bedford, #1 whaling town in the world. So yeah, we actually took it. There was a let's see what. So Mr. Driggs actually, this was his retirement business. He opened up the shop. We do know that Sarah, you just stay right here. I'm going to get some show and tell.
Oh boy, show and tell coming up. So this, I don't know if you caught what Barb said, this was an actual shipsmith shop up in, or blacksmith up in New Bedford. Here we go. Oh boy.
All right. So this particular business not only was a shipsmith, but he was a specialist, which means that he actually made the whale craft, the tools that a whaleman needed in order to go out to sea. So Dane one over here. I need these extra hands.
You thought you weren't going to be pressed into service.
Yeah. I
How
knew there was no-
embarrassing. Can you just hold these, please? Awesome, thank you. So I'll show this real quickly.
Oh, there we go. Can you all see that?
So this is a harpoon.
Yeah.
All right, so it's missed about 7 foot of wood. for the handle of the head that a shipsmith would make. You go out whaling with it, and actually lost about 7 out of every 10 to the harpoon. It wasn't very good. What would happen is you drive it into the back of the whale, and then the whale would take off, and it would come right back out the same hole. So not very effective. You know that? Thank you so much. All right. So
You
the
look good with it.
shipsmith said, "All right, I have an idea. Let's do this. Let's do half a harpoon. This one will drive it into the back of the whale, twist it, and it will get locked in, right?
The gross factors.
Okay, so they only lost
Yep.
6 out of every 10 whales with this. Right?
This is right about when the kids make all the same exact faces that you just did. Yeah.
For a shipsmith, it wasn't really a bad deal because every time he lost a harpoon, he would just make a new one, not a problem. So finally, these whalemen would actually go into the shipsmith and say, hey, there's got to be a better design than this. But keep in mind, American whalemen were traveling around the world hunting these whales. Some of the places they would go up to are into the North Atlantic, and they learned by watching the Inuit folks actually designing their own harpoons up there out of bone, and they actually designed it so that the head would flip or toggle. So these American whalemen were coming down and telling one specific man, Lewis Temple, I've got an idea. Can you make this out of iron? And he said, well, okay, I'll give it a try. And he designed this one that makes a small hole going into the back of the whale and flips up. And it worked. They lost 3 out of every 10 whales. It was revolutionary in 1848. Revolutionary. Unfortunately, Mr. Temple never was able to get a patent for this. Why? Because he was not white. Exactly. But he made a lot of money because a lot of other smiths came in and said, huh, how do you do that? So it actually helped Mr. Temple out enormously through his design. We still talk about it. It's an important story. We still talk about Lewis Temple's toggle iron. Do you know that? Thank you. Awesome. End of lecture. Question? Oh my goodness, it should take about a day. So that might be 8.5 hours. Okay. Here at Mystic Seaport, because we talk all the time while we're working, 9-10 months. It's crazy. Yeah, I work in the education department. All I want are some more harpoons that we can actually make in our shop. We have a working forge in here. And you put in an order and you're gonna wait a year for it.
And how many of these would be on a whaling ship?
If you were smart, you would probably order about 300 harpoons when you're going out to sea. So, oh, I need to tell you, yeah, a year. So the typical whaling voyage could last 2, 3, 4 years. The longest record I've read of a whaling trip was actually 12 years. There's a whale trip called the Nile. It was out of New London, Connecticut, and it was during the Civil War. So it wasn't safe for it to come back here. So, yes. Oh, yeah. All right, Sarah, I'll be right back. I'm going to put my
I know.
I'm gonna give you guys a beauty shot while we are in transition here. There's the Mystic River. And over there, have any of you, I asked this, to the group in person, slept on that vessel, the Joseph Conrad? No sleeping on the vessel? That is where we have 50 bunks down below. Actually, it's a floating dormitory for our summer campers and school programs that we do, overnight programs with schools. All right, we are now heading back. So these folks are joining us virtually today. This is and we're not on mute, just so you know, but this is, I'm talking to a former colleague of mine, Dane Rue, who's here, and you're going to hear from him in a minute. This is the basically the technology that we landed on to do all of our virtual field trips last year, and it was really the easiest way to do it. Yeah.
That's okay. So you can either in the next 5 minutes go into our Mystic Press shop, or you can go into our cooperage, and I will meet you right by this bench in 5 minutes. All right,
Okay.
and I'll test you.
All right.
So here we go.
I'm going to take our zoomies into the print shop here. Oops, sorry. We're going to go into the print shop here at the Seaport. And here's Mr. Mark.
Hello.
Mark, these are folks, we have teachers here today to, actually, this is actually from National History Day. This is Mark, one of our fabulous educators and interpreters. I've got a few Zoomies, and this is the kickoff for National and Connecticut History Day.
Okay.
And so Barb is finishing up her little tour, and
Great.
they had an assignment to come either in here or in Cooperage. So we picked here.
All right, very good.
We got a
Welcome to
couple
the print shop.
minutes, yeah.
All right, you got a few minutes. I can give you a quick little printing 101. Printing that we do it here is movable type, which goes back to Gutenberg 1450. Okay.
The
So
Bible people.
exactly. He was printing the Bible. That was his first big gig. And to do that, he created movable type. So before that, printing was done by the Chinese, where they take a block of wood, they carve that block, and you could print with it, which was great until something needed to change. And everybody knows at some point something's going to have to change, in which case you would throw the block of wood away, carve it again. With movable type, you could constantly change it because every character is its unique piece. So every letter, every number, every space,
You're the host now. No pressure.
get an experienced typesetter. 40 minutes. Every change in the point, which is the size or the font. Those sorts came from a different case. So if you're going, you're chugging along, putting this together, and keep in mind, it has to be put together backwards, which is mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
We know our first word is rules, correct?
Yeah.
But SELUR, does that mean anything to anybody? SELUR doesn't mean anything to me. So what we're going to do is put it together upside down. Because even upside down, RULES spells rules, right? Right side up or upside down. I can start with the first letter, put my whole line together, and then I flip it over. And now it's right side up and it's backwards. So that's how we build our print jobs, line by line by line, by doing it like that.
Backwards and upside down.
So if you happen to reach into your case for an 8, and there aren't any more sorts in here, you're now out of sorts. Now, out of sorts today means the same thing it did back then. It gets you pretty anxious and pretty upset. Now, the reason is that if you were out of sorts, you had to stop your print job because you couldn't go any farther until you opened up a whole box of font and load the entire case.
Oh, no.
Now, you're not paid by the hour doing this kind of work. You're paid based on what you get done. So essentially, all that work, that's on you.
Oh.
You're not getting paid for it. So out of sorts, never a good thing.
Oh, say they can't see.
Now,
Hold on, gang. We'll try to get your visual back. You keep talking. Sorry.
actual printing aspect is a lot simpler than the typesetting, but it is still time consuming because you're going to make one impression at a time. So I've got something on here which is kind of fun. These are all the phrases that come from the print shop. As Sarah knows, I love to print this when I'm in the shop. So I'm going to take a little bit of ink with my brayer, roll that on the ink, and now roll it onto the typeset. It's a great way of transferring your ink on, a lot better. Don't let you hear me say this, a lot better than in the 1700s when they used ink balls. The brayer is much superior. Now we're going to put the paper to bed.
Do we lose them?
I'm gonna go with yeah.
So I just got the message that I'm the host. Okay, no, not anymore. Good.
All right.
Now, this is an impression. The typeset presses into the paper. And that's how you can tell something is hand set and printed on the letterpress. And besides, the printer always likes to make a good impression. Come on.
Thank you, Mark. Question on your press.
Yes.
When is it circa?
This.
Very cool.
Thank you, Mark.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Mark.
Thanks for stopping in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a great day.
I was impressed.
You're the lucky winner every time.
I'm in school today and I just want to make sure my classroom was still standing with this particular group of students. So everybody's where they need to be.
Okay, there they are.
Ah, we're back. Sorry about that.
Okay.
The one thing, Zoomies, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I just want to let you know that we have about 13% battery left on the iPad. And I think that was part of the issue with that in and out in the print shop. So if we we end up losing each other permanently, my apologies. But what we're doing now is we're roughly heading back to the meeting room. And then Dane Rue is going to talk a little bit about the resources available at the Slater Museum. I'm hoping that we to show you that too. But apologies ahead of time if we lose you.
Okay, so we're on Seaport now. They moved our room. We're on the top here.
Right. So there are types of recordings aboard ship. Actually many, but two written documents. One was called a logbook. And in my personal opinion, that was sort of like the boring official document. And that was, every 4 hours, what the wind speed, wind direction on a whaling ship, how many whales you caught, how many barrels of oil you obtained from that whale, blah, blah, all the boring stuff. But it's really important when you're doing research. When a ship would come back home, that logbook, the official document, official legal document, went to the owners so that the owners know what happened during the last 4 years with their object. The other thing that I find much juicier are the sailors' personal diaries, their journals, because they will tell you exactly what it was like aboard a ship, if they liked the captain, if they saw absolutely something amazing as they're traveling around the world, seeing things that nobody back home would ever imagine. They would tell you how bad the food is or what the food was. They would draw these amazing illustrations. Some are really bad, but sometimes they're absolutely amazing illustrations. So you get a really good visual of what was happening aboard that ship. So yeah, regulars, common sailors, obviously were allowed to keep journals. Opportunities for sailors who were literate to teach other sailors how to read, how to write letters. That was what's really pretty amazing about a long voyage like that. The other amazing thing is, especially on whaling ships, you once again have people of all nationalities going out to sea on these vessels. once again, it wasn't just the local boys of New England that were going out on whaling voyage. In fact, most of the time, early 1800s, whaling ships would leave New England with a skeleton crew, go across the Atlantic Ocean over to the Azores Islands. And that's where they would pick up the remainder of the more experienced whalemen. So all of a sudden you've got, at the very start of a voyage, you've got a wide variety of languages being spoken, different cultures that are being shared. Oftentimes on whaling ships, they would almost develop their own culture and also their own language so that one sailor could actually communicate with another. So you could write in English, but you may learn some Portuguese words along the way during your voyage. Any other questions?
The shanties help with, like the sea shanties with teaching, helping keep rhythm for different things with all the different languages.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all about the rhythm with that. And of course, music, international language. Very good. Yeah, the sea shanties were definitely another work tool aboard sailing ships. Absolutely. All right, well, we're gonna go back inside and then we're gonna be only there for a couple minutes and then it's boat ride. So if you have more questions, and I will talk to you.
All right, so Zoomies, I'm gonna put you on mute and turn the camera off, and then I'm gonna get it set up again so you can see Dane. And fingers, we have 10% left. It's actually been my pleasure though, spending time with you all today. You've actually kept me company because I can see your faces and appreciate you get the award for hanging in there today. It is hard to sit in a long meeting via Zoom. So thank you for joining us. And like I said, hopefully we have just enough left for you to see Dane.
I think you should.